Greetings artists! I'm going to walk you through the very last steps for your Loopy fish project. Today we're going to be adding water in the background. We are going to use 3 new tools that we haven't used so far on the project. We're going to use a larger watercolor brush. It looks like this. We're going to use tempera cakes instead of the small watercolors. They work very similar. You still want them to be see-through, but they're just a brighter pigment. And then we are going to be using bubble wrap. It's going to be very difficult, but please try to refrain from popping the bubbles because if they are filled with air, they make much better texture on your paper. If you pop them, then there's no air left in the bubble and it doesn't make good contact with your paper. And I will show you what that means when my example is dry and it's up on the board. So what we're going to do in the background is we're going to use the 3 cool colors, violet, blue, and green, to add some water. Now we can do it just like we did with our fish, where we swirl with a wet brush and pull our brush across the paper. Since we're working on the edge, it is going to get on the table, and that's okay. Accidents are always okay. We want to get our paper covered from edge to edge. Just please don't paint on the table on purpose. The other thing that we could do is we can use a technique called wet on wet. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm just laying down some water right on my paper, and then very quickly, while I've got that water on the paper, I'm going to pick up lots of paint and I'm going to drip it in that water that's now on my paper and let it run. Then I can swirl my brush real fast, rinse it, pick up a second color and drip it, and those colors will actually run together and mix inside the water. See how it's kind of spreading out? So I have to do that in very small areas, and I've got to do it fast because that water is going to start soaking into the paper and then it will no longer blend. The one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to put my second color down and then paint across the whole area, because then I won't get this really pretty marbled effect. It will just make blue-violet. They'll completely mix together. So I can paint right up next to my fish, being really careful not to paint over him. And I can fill my background with either a wash, where I'm just pulling my paint across the paper, or wet on wet, where I put the water down really heavy, and then super fast, I pick up some paint and I drip it in the standing water and let it blend all on its own. Okay, once I have the whole background filled, I'm not going to sit here and fill the whole background for you because that is a waste of your precious art time. But once I have the entire paper filled, that's when I'm going to use my bubble wrap. I use it at the very end, once my whole paper is painted, and it's going to go on the drying rack with the paper, and then it will not be taken off until the whole painting is dry. I'm going to do one more little area of wet on wet over here. I'm going to paint some water real quick. I'm going to put it right up next to my fish, super fast. And then I'm going to pick up lots of paint, drip it in, get a little more water, rinse really quick, come over here, grab some blue. I'm going to drip that in and let the green and the blue mix together. Okay, really important, also 3rd grade, is that I do not, even if I make something super amazing, I don't want to pick my paper up and say, oh, whoa, check out what I just did. Because do you see what's happening on my paper? I've got so much wet standing that if I lift my paper up to show it off to someone, it's going to make my colors run. And we don't want that on this project. We want to still be able to see our fish. So you're going to fill in your entire background, painting inside, in between, and outside your fish. And then once your whole entire paper is painted and covered, you're going to make sure you lay bubble side down, so the parts that you can feel on your paper. Just give it one good press. You don't want to move it around, just press it on so it's stuck. And then you're going to leave that. And it's going to go to the drying rack with your paper like that. I'm going to move it a little closer. You can kind of see here what's going to happen. you can see how where the air bubbles are, it's kind of soaking up the pigment or the color. And so it's going to make bubble speckles in your background, and it'll really look like water. Again, I want you to note that since I'm painting from edge to edge, I made a mess on accident, and that is okay. Accidents are always okay. We'll clean it up at the end of class. So I cannot wait to see your bubbled backgrounds. Happy painting.